So we're talking about software and servers at Nexttesting, and we've previously discussed in a previous screencast the servers and environments. In another screencast, we've looked at software development process, and in a yet in a third screencast, we've looked at software unit testing and software integration testing with RSpec and Cucumber. And this time with this screencast, today we're gonna look at software deployment to servers. Now, previously, I've shared with you this slide about how the programmers get their tasks, their highest priority task from Pivotal Tracker, and they write the code, and then they commit the code to our Git source code repository on the Git server. And then when you commit on the master branch of the Git server, the continuous integration server wakes up and start running all the tests that you've seen in a previous screencast. You know, the 4,000 RSpec unit tests, and maybe 4,000 integration test steps, and about 1,200 unit test steps. Now, for the deployment process, it all starts with the programmer. So say, for example, the programmer is finishing up a task. They commit it to their local branch. They merge it to their local master branch, and they push it to the remote master branch on the Git server, on the Git source code repository. And they will instruct any one of the four remote production servers, whether it's the production server, the standby server, the staging server, or the demo server. The programmer can very quickly, with a single command, instruct that server to go ahead and update itself from the Git server, from the master branch on the Git server. And the flow for us is that we always deploy stuff to the demo server and then to the staging server, and we ask our quality assurance team to go ahead and look at it and see if they like it, if everything is fine, everything is kosher. And then we deploy to the standby server and then to the production server. Now, we have scripts where everything can be done with a single push button, but sometimes we do it one server at a time, sometimes we do it with a single push button. Now, this is the deployment process to the sandbox server. Now, mind you, I talked about the demo server, the standby, the staging, and the production server. We didn't say anything about the sandbox server. The sandbox server is different in that it's made for the software development team. It's for the programming team to play without interfering with the normal flow of deployment from a production perspective. So, for example, the programmer can commit stuff to their local sandbox branch and push it to the remote sandbox branch on the Git server, and then instruct the sandbox server to go ahead and update itself from the sandbox branch on the Git server, on the remote Git server. Now, the reason we do it this way is, if you notice in here, it's completely programmer centric. We did not touch the staging server, we did not touch the standby server, we did not touch the production server. Now, if the reason why we want to keep that production flow completely separate from the sandbox server here is because what happened in the middle of working on a new futuristic task, what happened if you get a bug? Somebody reports a bug and you need to fix it right now. So you can just leave everything on the sandbox as is, move on to your local, fix the bug, commit it to your local master branch, and push it to the remote master branch, and then deploy it to the staging server. The quality assurance team can make sure that the bug is fixed. They can deploy it to the standby server, and then deploy it to the production server. So then when the programmer is done with fixing the bug, the programmer can switch to their sandbox branch and continue experimenting with a new feature, completely isolated from the production flow of deployment, if you will. Now I'm going to talk about database server updates. We have our production physical machine, we call NT Web, or also we call it secure. It has the production server in it, and this is our next prod physical machine, and it has the standby server in it. And we can, with a single push button, refresh the standby database from the production database. So with a single push button in our or single command line command, the programmer can instruct the standby server to refresh itself so that its database, its MySQL database, is an exact replica of the production database. We have a third box, the Nextqa physical box, and it hosts the staging server, and we can do the same thing with a single push button or a single command. The programmer can instruct the staging server to refresh itself from the exact copy of the database on the production server. Same thing with the sandbox server. Our sandbox server, with a single push button, can end up with a duplicate exact replica of the production database server. Now, this is true for three of our servers. What happened to the demo server? Well, the demo server is on its own. Its data set has diverged from production. We use it for experimentation. The marketing team or the programmers can experiment with a completely different data set, and we've used it to add soccer data. We've used it to add different crazy idea events. We don't want to override that information from production. We want to keep that experimentation with us. So the demo server has become a place where we experiment with a different data set without the danger of having it being overwritten from the production data every time we refresh the other servers. So again, demo server is not updated from production. It has its own data set. And back to the ending, we've been talking over the past few screencasts about servers, software and servers at Nexttesting. We've seen the servers and their environments. There's a whole screencast about this. We've seen software development process, what kind of tools we used, what kind of machines we use, how we set up our programming environment. We've seen the RSpec unit tests. We've seen the Cucumber integration tests with JavaScript support. And finally today we've talked about software deployment to server and database updates and refreshing databases. So this pretty much covers the whole software department and servers at Nexttesting. Thank you for enduring through this.